Welcome to the Codpast podcast, where your fishy past hooks your brilliant future. With Dr. Deborah, Laura, and Dr. Trish.
All right, we're live almost in Facebook. And remember to go there and push it out to your own personal page.
Yeah, so we just take a second and we'll go to the Codpast podcast Facebook page and we'll go ahead and share it when it comes up.
It's up now.
And Laura usually talks us through this. Hey, everybody, we're sharing onto our.
Oh my God, I had
pages.
so many issues. I had a cough. I had a sneeze, and I'm still not sure we're recording. I know we're live on Facebook, but Trisha, are we also recording for?
I believe
Because I
we
don't
are.
see it up in the corner. I believe you.
Okay, I'm going to share it. I'm sharing.
We're recording, I think, right?
Yes, it said we were recording.
Okay, we're good to go then. Because I had to press got it.
Yeah, but that was for Facebook.
All right.
Now
we're
it's recording.
Yay.
Persistence is my middle name.
Yes. Welcome everybody to the Codpast podcast, where we where we talk about your fishy past that will hook your brilliant future. We're excited today to have a guest who I'll introduce in a minute, but we're here with Dr. Deborah, Dr. Trish, and Laura, and a special guest, Sue Pine. But I was wondering if Laura would have a fish joke to start us off with so that we can,
Well, she better,
Well,
because that's one of her
That's
jobs.
probably why I had my coughing, sneezing fit. I had to go get my phone so that I could get one, because it doesn't just come off the top of my head anymore.
I thought you were
Welcome,
improv.
everybody.
I
I'm an improv, but that
You can
takes a
just
lot
make
of
it up.
banter. And since Trish now has us pushing out to Spotify soon, and we're in the comedy section, I think that, we should start with a joke, as we always do, and just let people know that we don't take life seriously, but we take our purpose seriously. We live our life on purpose. So anything that we say that's funny, I'm so happy we're entertaining you, but I hope we're also
Can and will be used against us in a court of law.
Probably. I will start with a joke, so we legit can be in that category. How about that? So, where do fish sleep?
Where do they sleep?
So you can guess too.
coral beds.
That's good.
Oh, that's really good.
Yes, that's my guess.
Oh, okay.
Anybody else?
Well, I mean, there are a bunch of beds in the ocean. Are we closer?
Oh yes, you're very, very, very close. You're getting warmer.
Okay.
You're getting
not
wetter.
Not like they sleep in school, right?
There you go.
No, that would be
Right.
me telling them to do that.
Yeah.
That was me at 3
What is
p.m. or
this?
every afternoon.
What is this? Like it
It's
looks
kind
like
of a
I'm-
hot mess, Trish. It's kind of a hot
it
mess.
looks like I'm trying to hook something.
It does. It does.
The
And this
answer
is
to
the
this
humor
joke.
section of our podcast.
Yeah.
All right. So when I tell you, you guys are going to be really upset with yourselves
All
on
right.
a waterbed.
Oh, I had. How many
that's
people had a
funny.
waterbed?
I
Anybody
didn't.
have a waterbed here?
Oh
my
yeah,
God.
I had a waterbed.
Oh yeah.
I slept on it for years.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did too, and then mine leaked when my parents came, and I said, you guys can sleep on my waterbed, which was not exactly what my dad was thrilled to do, and it leaked.
Ooh.
Then it was a mess.
Yeah.
Then
that is
I
a
didn't
mess.
want to do it anymore.
Well, one of my cousins posted a fish joke and I forgot about it until Laura started going. And I said, I'm going to say this on our Codpast this week, but it's just a sentence that it's not a question. I made some fish tacos today, but they just ignored them and swam away.
That's like down here in Jaco, which now I'm out of Jaco, I'm in San Jose, but my favorite place to eat was Jaco Taco. because that's where they had the fish tacos from Hako.
I love it. I love it. Well, welcome everybody. We're so glad you're here today. And I'm going to introduce our guests. We're here just to have a conversation together as four women that have a lot in common. All four of us have a lot in common. Sue Pine is our guest. I knew Sue in high school, and we graduated in 1973. So you can tell that we're very young women, but we also have reconnected in the past year or so, just through Facebook. And then I even saw you in person a couple of months ago or a few months ago. Yeah, it was just great. And so we're becoming great friends. And Sue is just one of the kindest, sweetest people. And she, I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. She's the owner of Serenities Now LLC. She's a holistic practitioner, a life coach, an emotion code certified practitioner, a registered yoga teacher,
Wow.
and a health and wellness advocate. Her passion is helping others release their emotional baggage, reduce and manage their stress, and empower them to think more clearly, set a plan, and live the life they desire. Says Sue, once you experience the power of God's healing energy, your life will never be the same. I want to help you experience better health, better relationships, and more abundance in your life. Helping people find their purpose and find the joy is what I love to do. It's my true joy and my calling. I get so much satisfaction from helping my clients break through the barriers that get in the way of finding their purpose, and watching them make the transition from chaos to calm. And so that's just a few, Sue is all about peace. And I'm just so excited to hear from her today, because I've seen her Facebook page and Serenities Now, and and all of her posts are very positive and loving and kind. I just want to kind of ask her to talk a little bit about Serenities Now and how she got there and what her vision is for sharing with other people her purpose.
Well,
So
she sounds like a bit like all of us.
She is very much like all of us.
I mean, I love this.
Yeah.
Your resume could just be kind of folded in parts of our stuff.
Yeah.
So
and we'll have cool. You and Trish can have a little bit of a yoga conversation if you'd like, but tell us a little bit about Serenities Now, Sue, and your philosophies.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for that lovely introduction. Sounds a lot more, I don't know, it sounds like a lot, but I guess Serenities Now is a business that just came to me as I was on a business trip. I spent 31 years in the steel industry, and I did a lot of traveling. I did a lot of industrial relations and a lot of things, and it got pretty stressful at times. And I was on one of those business trips where you're going, another one, do I really want to, you know how it gets sometimes. And I'm thinking, and just to kind of set this up, I'm a Seinfeld person. I love the show Seinfeld. And I'm sitting there going, Serenity Now, from the one episode where George just kind of like goes all over the place. And I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking, well, serenity doesn't just happen. You need the tools. And that's kind of how the business started. I jotted some stuff down on the notes in my phone and said, we're going to call it Serenities Now. And this was maybe 2013 or so. And I just started adding in all the different little tools that had helped me make it through, and started sharing them with others. It's kind of how we started.
Oh my gosh, that is so nice. And also you told me that when you got out of the steel industry and you got out of corporate America and decided to be an entrepreneur, that one of the first things you did was to
get a little purple in my hair. Yeah, and quit being so like corporate, the things you always wanted to do, but you knew you probably couldn't,
Yeah, Sue told me that. I said, "Oh, I love your little colors in your hair." She goes, "Well, first thing I did when I got out of corporate America, I wanted to just do what I wanted to do." And that is one of the things that's really nice about being an entrepreneur, right? When you're an entrepreneur, you definitely can do what you want to do. So, Sue, when you were talking about some of the tools that you use to, what are some of the outcomes that you would like for your clients? And then what are some of the tools you help them with?
Every client I have is a unique individual. You know, we're all put here on earth as little spiritual beings. And depending on our environments and how we're raised and everything, we go all over the place. And a lot of times we really stray away from the reason we're here. And that causes a lot of chaos, you know, not to mention we bring stuff with us anyway. But what I like to do is help people get back to the reason they're here. You know, we're all here for a purpose.
What's the first question you ask them to start to lead in that direction?
I always ask people just to tell me about themselves. You know, we usually just like we're sitting down with a cup of coffee or something and chat for a while. And then I will ask them, you know, is there stuff that you really love? Is there stuff that you really don't love? You know, what do you like to do each day? You know, what do you despise? You know, I think you have to learn who the person is and what their desires are. Even if they don't really know, you know, it'll come out as you talk.
And as you lead them down this path, and maybe they finally, I mean, I know that we've done this, us three have done this, because believe it or not, we've only really known each other in person for about 9 months. And we feel like we've known, well, we've been together since Jesus's fire. I know that we were around the campfire. I know that for a fact.
We were around the campfire.
But I do know, but I do believe that, you know, all of a sudden, when you start saying, yeah, what do you like, what you don't like, what really, I'll tell you what, somebody said this, and I don't even know who said this, maybe Trish or somebody, I don't know, but somebody said yesterday, things that make me stand on my tippy toes. That's what I want to be involved in, right? And
somebody said that to me this week, and I swear I must have said it 30 times after that, because I thought, if we could always stand on our tippy toes looking in the window and going, I'm going to go there, you know, I want to be that. And that's my new mantra, is I want to be around people that make me stand on my tippy toes, like these two girls. I swear, tippy toes on the edge of nowhere, on the edge of everywhere. But yeah, it's fun to be on your tiptoes, trying to reach for something, you know?
Right. And it's there.
And don't you think, Sue, that's when people know their purpose? When they're like, this is what really makes me I don't know, happy, turned on, excited, you know, motivated.
Well, sometimes I ask people, what makes you want to get out of bed in the morning?
I think that's it.
What is it?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. What makes you want to start that day? You know, and
what % would you say don't know? How many had forgotten what gets them up in the morning?
Let's
do you
guess.
have an idea?
Let's guess.
Okay, I'll guess. 30% might know, maybe even lower.
Yeah, I was going to say, I bet 80% don't know, because I've asked in my work too. I've asked that question so many times. I'm sure you guys have too. I'm
going to be a more optimistic human being. I'm going to say that maybe 60% know and 40% don't know. What do you think, Sue?
Well, from my experience, I'm kind of sad to say, but 1 in 10 don't know.
Yeah. I believe it. I think people don't know what they want. They don't know what they like. They don't know what they love. They don't know what they want to do. You know, it's I think it's part of the whole programming that we're probably going to get a little bit into on the show, but yeah, people have been programmed right out of their head, right out of their soul.
Right.
And
you know, they do things out of duty instead of devotion.
Duty and fear. Oh, I love
I
that.
love that.
I
Oh, that
love
gave me
that.
shivers. Duty
I
instead of
do.
devotion.
I'm
We're
gonna
always
write
writing
that
stuff
down.
down, Sue. So that was
I'm gonna write this down.
That was
a
row
catch of the
advice. There
day.
you
That was a
go.
catch of the day.
That was
Oh,
a catch of
wow,
the
that was
day.
a catch of the day.
Duty instead of devotion. Okay. And so explain that a little bit, what that might mean to our audience as far as doing something out of duty instead of devotion.
Well, in our culture, you got to get up, you got to go to work for most people, you know, you got to do stuff around the house, you got all these chores, and, you know, you just got to get them done. We don't really think about why. We really don't take the time to appreciate, I got to clean the bathroom. And then, you know, I felt like this for years. And I went to Malawi, Africa, with a wonderful group called Little Dresses for Africa. And we spent, I think it was a week or so there. And they didn't have plumbing most places. And I came home and I'm like, I get to clean the bathroom. I'm so thankful I have plumbing, you know? And it's like, it changes things. You find the gratitude, you find the blessing in what you're doing, and it switches it over. It's like you flip it, you know?
That's really good.
That is really, I mean, I think we can just stop the podcast now. I think we got the rat.
All this wisdom, I'm
That
telling
was
you.
really, really good. And you know, I was thinking this morning, I'm in Costa Rica where, you know, I could talk about this forever, but I was doing the dishes today, and pretty much you know, no place has had hot water for dishes. And most places don't really even have it for showers because the water's kind of tap cool or whatever.
Yeah.
So a lot of them don't spend the money on heating the water. And I was like you, I was like, I'm gonna be leaving here in 2 days, and this is gonna be like one of the last times I get to do the dishes in cold water, and I'm so appreciative that the water's running, you know. And yeah, that's really good, Sue. Really good.
Sue, another thing that kind of came to, I remember we were talking earlier, and this was a time in your life prior to your job, your career with the steel industry, I think so. You were in the Air Force?
Oh, yes, it was.
And tell us a little bit about your role in the Air Force. And you said there was something that you did with the new airmen to kind of fool them and trick them into doing what you wanted them to do.
Yeah, that was my last assignment. But when I joined the Air Force, I joined in 1978. It was peace times, you know, and I am a strict pacifist. I am really a pacifist. Do no harm, you know, that is a principle I live by. But I also know that the best offense in the military is a strong defense. So I joined the Air Force, and, you know, you go through all the testing and stuff, and they kind of just say, okay, this is what you're going to do for your job. Back then, it's a little different now, I think. And so my job was computer maintenance and repair. And the machines I was working on were the communication systems for the Minuteman missiles, you know.
Whoa.
And I'm like, okay, I'm a pacifist and I'm controlling the ability for somebody to push this button and blow up the world, you know. But you know, it was quite scary yet humbling. So I did that for a while. I learned all of that, and then they asked me to teach, so I taught the computer maintenance, and I really enjoyed it. But an opening came up in what was called Mission Application Seminar, and that was a neat program because, you know, we're talking the late 70s, early 80s. And my job, you know, today it's kind of scary when I think about what's going on in the world right now. But at the time, my job was to teach the brand new airmen, anybody that came through our base. I was in Biloxi, Mississippi at the time, just, you know, nothing like it is today. And all these little airmen, because I joined kind of late compared to most. So these are like 18-year-olds, and I'm like an old 23 maybe, you know. But I'm teaching them all about the Soviet Union, all about the missiles, all about the way if you don't do your job right, it's going to blow us all up, and, you know, we're all going to die. So it was a very interesting assignment. Very
Yeah.
interesting
Oh
assignment.
my gosh.
I'm
Thank you
gonna
for your
act-
service.
I yes, thank you for your service. I'm going to jump in with a question that I never get to ask, because we get to the end and it's never been appropriate to ask, but it is now.
Oh, I'm
You
afraid.
worked for the Missile Men, and there is a lot of there are a lot of stories about UFOs shutting down, you know, the
Yeah.
silos, the nuclear silos. Did you have any experience like that, or are you familiar with any of those stories?
You know, we heard the stories, but I never had any experiences or anything, you know. And of course, if you would hear things like that, your upper, you know, people would just say, oh, you know, just, you know, they're just trying to stir stuff up, and there's no such thing, and, you know, but
Oh,
Oh,
Trish, you're on mute.
you're muted.
As a matter of fact, just a few minutes ago, Stephen Greer, who has kind of blown the lid off of a lot of people that have been in the military who really needed an outlet to talk to and make peace with themselves because they knew something, but they couldn't
Yeah.
talk to anybody else. And Stephen Greer, he was actually just kind of on a calling. He just kept getting more and more people telling him stuff, and he felt like he had to say it. And he's sort of on a roll right now because he's really concerned about the world, as we all are if we're smart pacifists. And there are a lot of people that were on those bases that have said, I was there, we could not get those things to respond. We were talking to the other bases, we couldn't, you know, nobody knew what to do. Everyone told us not to tell anybody. But there are so many of those people that knew about that. And well, God bless you.
Yeah,
You
that is
know, I
amazing.
thank you for your work. My dad was career Air Force. My brother was in charge of the football. So
Nice.
my brother was in charge of those codes. That's why he quit the Air Force. And
Wow.
and now I'm in Costa Rica, where they haven't had a military since the 40s. They have a national police, so they do have something that kind of keeps the peace or whatever. But they don't spend much money on self-protection. And I think because love pushes out the negativity. I think that when you have a lot of love bomb, that nothing can penetrate it. I mean, I've watched it in
That's
my own
awesome.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Trish, you also said too that they're very highly literate, so they spend their money on education as opposed to military. So that's amazing. Yeah.
And I spent a lot of time in Africa because I had schools over there, and it could be all, but most of the countries, education is not free. You are not allowed to go to school unless you can either buy a uniform or pay for it or pay for books or something. And you can see the disparity. In Costa Rica, all education is free, including universities, and they have 100% literate population, which when I was in K-12 education and teacher training, I would go, well, how do you even get 100% literacy? Like, aren't there some people that can't read? But if you get that vibe that's here, that sort of self-respect and respect for others, everybody, they have unequal pay all over the place. I mean, there are a lot of wealthy people in Costa Rica. I could not believe all the expensive cars here. But there's a huge amount of people who don't have 5 cents. But everybody seems to be all right. Nobody seems to struggle for food or clothes or and you'll go by somebody begging for money, and they'll say pura vida, peace.
Well, that might be a good segue into, because I don't know a lot about it. I think Trish and Laura may know a lot about the emotion code.
Mhm.
And you brought up on our Clubhouse the emotion code and then another code,
The body code.
the body code. But I know that you're an emotion code certified practitioner, I believe.
And body code as well.
And
yeah.
body code. Okay.
Yeah.
Would you mind talking about that a little bit, about what the emotion code is and what the body code is and how that can benefit people?
Sure, because I find that to be one of the most valuable tools I have found for my toolbox. The emotion code and the body code were discovered by Dr. Bradley Nelson, who's a chiropractor and a wonderful man. I mean, oh my gosh, you can tell that he was inspired when this came. And what he found was that a lot of times when things happen to us, we trap the emotions. You start, just something happens and you just don't process it out. And that emotion becomes this little ball of energy. It can be like the size of a softball, a grapefruit. It can be bigger, can be smaller, depends. And that gets in your system and it just gets stuck, and after a while, sometimes these little balls of emotion, these little energy balls, can cause issues. They will cause issues. It's not they can, they will. And if you don't process them out, you don't release them, you can have emotional problems, you can have mental issues, you can have physical issues. And for example, I had a friend that when I was first learning had really severe back problems. And she let me practice on her. And I'm in debt because, someone lets you get into their energy. The way this works is that you actually connect your energies together and you kind of act as a proxy for the person. And you ask, tap into that subconscious of the person that you're working with and say, okay, is there an emotional imbalance here, a trapped energy that we can remove? That my friend here, she has lots of pain in her back. Is there something that's causing that? We released maybe 6 or 7 pretty big things that she, like I would say, well, this emotion of grief says it happened when you were around 7 years old. Does that strike anything and come up, and she'd be, oh yeah, and we'd get rid of it. We just, use the magnetism of body, release that energy. By the time we were done, she didn't have any more back pain.
Oh my
and
gosh,
she was just, she was just like, what just happened? But it's this modality where it's kind of like, the 21 questions game where you just all these yeses and nos. You just tap into that subconscious and start asking yes and no questions. Is it this? Is it that? Then you narrow it down if you need to, do we need to know more? Yes or no? Is it did it happen at between 0 and 10, 10 and 20? You just keep going until the body realizes there's enough information here that we can get rid of it.
Wow.
And was that all in one session, or was that over several different sessions?
That particular one was in one session.
Wow.
And it was like not that many trapped emotions, but they were just all concentrated. And I have found with most of the people that I work with that if you have a weak area in your body, that's kind of where they start to build up anyway. It's like, okay, well, we'll just go live with our friend hate over here and our friend anger and, and they just all hang out. So,
That's a great way to put it. That's so true. And I remember I'm a competitive athlete, and it's almost always, if something goes wrong, it's on the left side of my body. So it's probably that hate, that grief, that fear always goes to the left leg or the left shoulder.
Right.
And the doctor said I don't think she knew anything about the emotion code, but what she said is it always goes to one side of the body. So now you've explained why. That's cool.
Yeah.
That was really interesting, Sue. And so that, it reminds me a little, Laura's a Reiki master. So it reminds me a little bit about, the energy things and need to really learn about that.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah. And Reiki is so powerful. I can do Reiki up through level 2. That's where I chose to stop that. But I do use it a lot of times because when you use the body code is kind of like the emotion code on steroids. It lets you address specific imbalances in 6 different categories. And, it includes like different systems like your digestive system or things like that. And sometimes you'll come up with, in the body code, there's a section called outside needs. This person has outside needs, and Reiki will come up quite often. And so we can do, through the quantum field, some Reiki right in the middle of our body code session and not have to stop and come back. It's a very powerful tool.
Yeah, it sounds like you just release. You find it, you release, you do whatever it is. It's like with Reiki, my Reiki master taught us, because I'm also a licensed massage therapist, you can only do so much with Reiki, and then you may have to go in there and do some soft tissue work. So yeah, using different modalities really is good for the client, and it's using the body, the mind, and the spirit, basically.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
because
also,
we are all,
go ahead, Sue.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that you sound incredibly intuitive. And one of the things that I'm learning and that I'm teaching right now is the 7 senses, which, most of us only think there are 5.
Yeah.
But there are actually tons of senses. And I've been reading about them. And it's funny how a lot of places have stopped using the 6th sense as your psychic sense or your intuitive.
Yeah.
They're naming it all kinds of things but that. But what I've noticed is that the people that are tapping into that 6th sense, that level of intuition, that level of psychic ability, I believe everybody is psychic. Everybody has the ability that Jesus taught to heal, to heal yourself, to heal others, etc. And I think that the more you use it, like you, and the more you're open to the different modalities and being able to combine those, it makes you into this almost superhuman force, because what you're doing is, it almost makes me start to cry, because every person on the planet needs it. I mean, we're so away from how our body just clicks and works and, just flows with nature. We have been so programmed away from that, and we get stuck in these different emotions. And so I love hearing you talk about this, and then hearing you talk about using your intuition. And I mean, I got certified in Reiki before anybody knew what it was. So my knowledge of Reiki and Laura's knowledge of Reiki is like 180 degrees different, but I think any of these kinds of trainings for anybody can just help us open up another level to be more helpful pacifists, to get this world to start to hum the way it was intended, I think, by God. I don't think God made a world that would test us forever. I think God made a world that
the last 2 years we've been in fear and stress even more. And so I think people need it even more. I love what you're saying. I'm going to make an appointment with you and get some I am going to get some. I'd love to do that with you. So just tell me what would, and I know everybody's different, but what would an average treatment, not just session, but plan be? Like, it depends on the person. I get that, but how do you do your treatment?
Well, what I do is I will meet with the person and find out, what are they looking for? Some people don't want a long-term plan, even though everybody needs a long-term plan. Some people want a Band-Aid.
Mm-hmm.
And so if that person wants a Band-Aid, we'll identify, okay, what specific thing is it? And then maybe they might just say, I just have knee pain and I want to get rid of it. And so we'll set up a little session where we'll just do a body code session and, just tune into their subconscious and say, what's the best thing we can do for the knee pain? And we'll work from there. I also have this neat little thing. It looks like an iPhone. That's how it looks like it, but it's an AO scan. And it has frequency. It's like a frequency generator as one of the things that it does. And you can send frequencies for the person they're balancing frequencies. So sometimes we'll include those balancing frequencies, like for pain relief, for specific body parts. I mean, if the person knows it's because their meniscus is frayed, then we'll go in, we'll find the correct frequency in the AO scan, and we'll run some frequencies, maybe 5 minutes a day for a week after we've had our session, to help support the healing of that area of the body.
So then do you have to be with the person, or you can do it over Zoom, it sounds like?
I do most of that type of work over the phone.
Over the phone.
Yeah.
And so as long as they can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. You don't have to see their face or their expressions or anything. You just hear their voice.
It's better not to.
Really?
Because if we're talking about the body code sessions, you don't want anything to get in the way. You're looking at their subconscious. You're working with their subconscious. You don't want to see their expression. That's why I don't use Zoom. And a lot of times if we are on Zoom, I don't have my video on, because that, like, if you make eye-to-eye connection in the healing process, you're missing that connection, the spiritual connection. And we want to get back to that spiritual being that's in there. What we see, this human piece is just the house for our spiritual body. And where this dis-ease is coming from is an imbalance somewhere in that spiritual body that we have to work through so the physical body can work better. And as far as the frequencies go, they just go through the quantum field just like, any other energy. So they don't have to be around at all. Once we identify it, I'll say, okay, well, Monday through Friday, I'm going to do, run your scan. Text me if you have questions, and we just kind of let it go at that.
Wow, I love that.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing cool. What energy can, what you can do.
We talk about energy a lot. Dr. Trish has a doctorate in energy medicine, and so this is right up her alley. But I've learned a lot from her, and I'm learning a lot from you today too. Maybe we can segue a little bit into spirituality, just because we are, I like what you said about how our spiritual soul is all we are. The body's just a vehicle while we're here on earth. And talk a little bit about spirituality and, how that can help to make the world a better place, and how it's helped you And if you want to tell a little bit of your story, you can, or however.
Well, I'd
Sure.
like to pick her brain about this huge elephant that we kind of talked about, because I'll bet Sue has a really good opinion of how people can shift things. So are you guys good with that?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Sue, this morning I got an email, or it might have been last night, from my daughter, who is a very strong Christian, and
Mhm.
she really lives her belief and her truth, and I'm really proud of her. And and she was sending me a thing saying, we used to live in Scottsdale, and then we lived in Phoenix. She now lives in Arizona, but so does my other daughter. And they are having what is called a Satan Con, which is kind of like a Comic Con, where they have these thousands of people show up for comics. Well, this is called Satan Con. And the reason that they decided to do it today, tomorrow, and Sunday is because the city council there always have interfaith prayers. So anybody can say a prayer for the city council. And this group wanted to do a prayer to evil. And so the council said no. And so they decided, I don't know, months ago, that they would do this big international convention there. Scottsdale's known for international conventions. And my way of working with things is to not go into fear, because I think fear is part of the dis-ease or the imbalance or whatever.
Right,
It
right.
doesn't, it's not real. It's, false evidence. And so but I have triggers like everybody. And so I use essential oils to get over those triggers.
Yeah,
And
me
so,
too.
how would the three of us kind of were powwowing about what we thought we could do to help just elevate the energy and elevate
Mhm.
anything around that, so that it just sort of dissipates with no energy in it. But based on what you're telling us about the body, if you were going to tell us about the body of the earth and all the bodies
Right.
on it, how would you best work on healing the people that are scared there today and tomorrow and Sunday, and whatever else the outcome might be? I'd love to hear your opinion about that.
Well, I'm going to give you a little background before I go there. We serve a mighty God. We know who wins in the end. And, we know where all the healing comes from. I totally depend on God's healing energy for everything I do. And I totally have faith, because faith and fear can't live in the same space. I have faith that, God wins. I know that. But we also have lots of tools out there. And one of the tools that I use on a daily basis, in fact, it's going on right now as we speak, is my little AO scan machine. It is programmed to send out healing frequencies to the earth. And I'm just gonna kind of read the list for you of the frequencies that every day, for a couple hours every day, I send out frequencies for the earth and all its inhabitants for energetic clearing, shielding, love, forgiveness, and gratitude, peace, calm, and tranquility, lower stress, better energy, relationship enhancement, health, strength, and recovery. I've added that since the pandemic. And I believe that we can raise the vibration of the planet. The more people that use the tools that they have, and they send those healing energies to our planet, the better that vibration is going to go. And like attracts like. So it's going to attract more good. So And I'm really dismayed about what you just said about Scottsdale. I mean, shame on them, but that's, I'm not here to judge.
It says too that it's the world's largest satanic gathering, so people are coming from all over to.
And so it's scaring the people that I know there, and
I'm sure it is.
And I think that what you're saying, I'll give you an example today when I very first got a hold of Deborah this morning, and I had sent both Deborah and Laura this information because part of what we try to do on this Codpast is talk about really current stuff having to do with anything, really, anything that somebody's talking about, we have an opinion about. And so we were talking, and as the two of us were talking, we both said we felt our hearts getting bigger, bigger, bigger. We could feel it. We could just feel it, and just shivers, a lot of energy, shivers. And so I totally agree with you, Sue. It only takes two people,
right,
to just completely. Well, Deepak Chopra said that one person can go in a crowded gymnasium and cause the cells in legs of people in there to go up or down.
right.
One person.
Yeah.
And so
The cells of what? The cells of what?
Of a leg. So Chopra's background is it's not, I started to say endometriosis.
And that, folks, is the comedy section of our.
No, that's not what he has a background in.
Endocrinology?
Endocrinology, thank you.
That's better.
So his start in medicine was endocrinology. So he was always studying cellular structure, and that's kind of what I am gaga about, is how does it begin? How does the cell begin, and then what happens after that? And he proved that in one of the first experiences and experiments to show that he could take cells out of a leg of somebody and show the impact of one person in the gym. And so he kind of he was sort of doing stuff around stem cells when Bruce Lipton was doing it in the 70s. Chopra didn't call it stem cells, and he didn't really know that every single one of our cells can reproduce anything, produce any part of us. And so this work that Chopra did always stuck with me, because I thought, now, if one person can do that, what can two do? What can three do? And of course, in the Bible, and Jesus says, where two or more gathered, you can move mountains. And I've seen that happen so many times in my own life. But I think that this gathering and this it's kind of blatant, like, I'll show you, it's kind of like the bully, right? And the bully doesn't really have anything going for them other than the quick, what you always talk about that, Laura, where the bully doesn't have anything past about 5 seconds, that the bully is really more afraid. They're just trying.
That's right.
It's like they want a fast reaction because they can't handle a slow reaction. And
Right.
I think that kind of made me think about that this morning, that they flooded the news wires and everything with this big, Satan Con. And I think they're kind of like the bully going, oh, Scottsdale, you wouldn't let us pray, so we'll just pray all over you. And, to me, it just says, all you have to do is stand tall, like what you said. We know who's stronger. And eventually, I always believe.
This morning we were talking, Trish and I was saying to her, because she said, I'm not leading with fear about this. We have to, and we did an intercession prayer and everything, and we'll continue to. But I just said, what we need to do is put on the armor of God, right? All of the, the helmet of everything, and then be the light. Don't worry about, saying mean things about them or whatever. Just be the light. Put on the armor of God, the blood of Jesus, prayed all over everything. And then hopefully, if we turn one soul, and one soul sees the truth, and one soul, sees the power of God like Nebuchadnezzar did in Babylon, it just, that's what the way it would be. I would like to approach it. And I only not felt that way. She brought that to light to me, because I'm a fighter. I'm like, oh, those people, we're going to, and I'm just like, just be the light, be the shine. So,
well, that's sort of I'm here in Costa Rica that has so much contextual stuff about love and peace and everything. And so for me, I'm, literally in bed with my what I love, and the environment and dogs and people saying I love you and things like that. Deborah, I want to read this because I think you've brought up something that is so powerful, and it's Ephesians 6, 11-18, and it says, put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, and against rulers of the darkness of the world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And high places, I believe the truth is coming out all over the place. And so, wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about the truth, having the breastplate of righteousness, having your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace, and above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with all prayer and supplication to the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. It's really, thank you for bringing that up, because the four of us, think about it, we're putting this out into the internet and Facebook and Spotify, and we're just saying, we're not going to be afraid of bullies. We don't have to worry about that. I was bullied a lot when I had these K-12 schools. I was bullied a lot, including Good Morning America. and somebody said, Trish, this is really serious. You need to really fight this, and this could be this, and this could be that. And I said, well, the worst thing I can think of is that they send me to prison the rest of my life, and I'll just teach yoga. So that one's not so bad. And then I said, or somebody decides they're going to bomb my car, kill me, or something like that. And I said, and that's not so bad, because I know I'm going to heaven. So I'm just not going to worry about it. I'm going to keep praying. I'm going to keep showing up in court, and eventually they'll give up. And that's exactly what happened. It was just, they just kept, it's bullying. And I think that's what's happening in Scottsdale. And Scottsdale, almost everybody's been to Scottsdale. And the Grand Canyon, which is close to Scottsdale, people come into Scottsdale, go up to the Grand Canyon. That's the #1 visited place in the world. Wow. So I always believed that Phoenix was called Phoenix from God, not from the person who named it Phoenix. Because I always thought that there's a lot of tribal force there. There's a lot of shamanic work there, and some the 3 tribes that were the most peaceful, the Zuni, the Hopi, and partially the Navajo, the Havasupai, that was it, because they're the keepers of the salt. They practiced harmony with nature, harmony with water all the time, and they didn't fight. They wouldn't fight. And that's why they were almost all completely knocked out. But I think we're seeing a resurgence of love and God on the planet, and people going, no, I'm going to say it's God, it's not me. I'm going to live and be truthful and honest and as loving as I possibly can, and hope God works it out.
And authentic. And so we're getting a little bit close to the end of our time here. You can imagine we could talk all day, but I would we have a thing called the row advice. And so at the end of what we're talking about today, we are talking about healing and love and peace and spiritual warfare. We've talked about spiritual warfare, which is real. Do you have some row advice that you'd like to say? And it doesn't have to be advice of a philosopher, but what do you have to say to our audience at the end of our time here? We're going to go over to Clubhouse in 5 minutes or so,
and that's when I'll ask you the other spiritual question.
Okay.
Well, what I would like our viewers to know is that you have to put out what you want to attract. If you want a peaceful life, you need to live in peace. If you want love in your life, you need to extend unconditional love just like our Father does. I think that we are made in the image of God. Perfection, we're in these human bodies, not so perfection, but we can get as close to perfection as we allow ourselves to. Our body has everything it needs inside. We just need to harness it. We need to get in there. We need to realize the good and not give up. Don't let all these distractions, and I hate to make it sound like I'm not that concerned about Scottsdale, because that is an awful thing, but it's a distraction of the enemy. The adversary wants to get you off track. He wants you not to be working on your purpose. So he's going to throw all these things out there. I just like to kind of, when I see stuff like that going on or hear about stuff like that going on, I think about when my kids were little and Care Bears came out. You remember the Care Bears, and when they needed to really get in there and get united, the hearts all went there and the big bursts of light, Well, that's just what we have to do about Scottsdale. You just take all that healing energy, all that love and everything, and you just broadcast it. And, that's going to get the adversary so upset that the other stuff's not going to work anyway. It's just the way it works. So I guess just row advice, be what you want to see.
Oh, I love that. And shine the light, because where there's light, there can't be darkness.
Right.
And Laura, you've been, do you have a question for Sue or anything that you'd like to say at the end?
3 minutes. I'll make it really quick. So actually too, with the light, I always think about Anita Majori from TEDx. It's called Dying to Be Me. She had a near-death experience, and she talks about once you shine the flashlight in the corner, you can't unsee it. What's there. And that's kind of what you're talking about. But I will ask in the last few minutes, and then we can pick up on Clubhouse. We always like to know if you've seen an angel or a ghost, and I know because I saw your sheet that you've seen something. I'd love to hear that little story. If you could start it here and just tell us what you think it was.
Well, the one that I've had several experiences, but the one that stands out the most in my mind started with my bedroom window, of all things. I live in a house that was built in 1939, and it's had a lot of history to it and stuff. It was a war project house. And so there's a lot of original pieces, and it's got its little odds and endsy flaws, but my bedroom is one of the few rooms that actually has like new windows and, that actually work, go up and down, and they have the locks on them that work. And several years ago, on near holidays and stuff, my bedroom window would just randomly open.
Wow.
It started at Christmas time. And, we don't really want that in Michigan. And since I had no clue what was going on, I just kind of like, okay, and I closed the window, and then the next holiday had come up because, you'd think, well, maybe air pressure or whatever, you lock it, it still comes open. And I don't know if you want me to finish the rest of this on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Or
We're gonna go over
what
to
you wanna
Clubhouse
do.
and we'll let you finish your story. I
Yes.
love it. The window going open
Cliffhanger.
on. But thank you so much for being here. We
Well, thank
loved you as a
you.
guest, and we'll see you over on Clubhouse